everyone, my name's Jordan. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about my top 10 favorite books from 2021. Narrowing this down was very hard. On my Instagram I posted my top 21 books of 2021, but I didn't want to do that much for this video. So I've pared it down to 10, kind of cheated a little bit. I have 5 honorable mentions, but I was able to narrow it down. I'm very proud of myself. So in 2021, I read 164 books. That number seems huge. A lot of that was me reading Naruto. I got through about like 61 volumes of Naruto. Some of them I did the omnibus editions where it's 3 in 1, but a lot of those were Naruto. But I did still read a whole lot of other books. So narrowing it down was tough, but I've done it. So without further ado, let's get started. There is no particular order to this. I did not order this like best book to worst or anything like that. It is just 10 books that were exceptional for me this year. So starting off, this beast, Rhythm of War by Brandon Sanderson. This book came out at the very beginning of 2021. I read the first 3 all in 2020. Again, I read a lot in 2020. Being unemployed for 6 months will do that. So I read this right when it came out. I started it when I got it, and boy oh boy, Brandon Sanderson can write. This book, I'm gonna set this down. This book is the 4th in the Stormlight Archive series, the first being The Way of Kings. This series follows a whole host of point of views. It is set in the world of Roshar, where it is kind of this like desolate landscape. There is no more plant life for the most part, and there are these storms that come continually like clockwork that just kind of like wipe everything out. So all of the cities are placed in areas where they can defend themselves from these storms. Each book kind of focuses on one of the main characters. We still get all of the other POVs, but we kind of like dial into one character in each book. So in this one, we kind of follow 2 of the Parshendi, which are another race of people that the humans have been at war with. I won't go too far into what else to not spoil the other 3, but basically, while these books are humongous, they are very worth the read if you are into fantasy. The next book on my list is The Song of Achilles. Everyone's read this book. It's all over Book Talk, it's all over Instagram, it's everywhere. The Song of Achilles is by Madeline Miller, and it is a retelling of Achilles and Patroclus in Greek mythology. It is this lyrical, wonderful book about the relationship these 2 men had. It really sticks to the story, but it dives deep into their romantic relationship, which has kind of always been speculated about. And it was beautiful. I listened to this on audiobook, and I remember I listened to it while I was working, and I only had about 30 minutes or an hour left when I was done working. So I just went and laid on my bed and finished it. And I was just laying there bawling. And my husband came in. He always makes fun of me when I cry during books. So he comes in and he's like, "What is going on?" And I'm just like a puddle on the bed. This book is superb. Just the way Madeline Miller really makes you feel for these characters and the desperation they have towards the end. It is magical. I would recommend this to literally anyone. The audiobook was fantastic. I'm planning on rereading it this year as a physical book, so I can kind of slow down and read some of the prose, because Madeline Miller is a pro at prose. The next book on my list is To Sleep in a Sea of Stars. This book was kind of my first foray into sci-fi, and I loved it. It is by Christopher Paolini, who wrote the Aragon book. So it is a big 180 from those books. Those are very much so like YA middle grade kind of fantasy books about dragons and elves. And this was full on space opera. So we follow our main character, who is on a ship with a bunch of other people, and they get infected with this alien species. And it's almost like Venom from Spider-Man. This alien species kind of becomes like her entire suit, and there's this whole galactic war. She has to work with this other alien species, and it is adorable and lovely and full of action and I really just loved this book. If you've never read sci-fi before, this book is also a chunker. It is, I think, over 800 pages, but well worth it. I read it very fast. I listened to this on audiobook, and the audiobook is great. The narrator was wonderful, and I would definitely recommend this to anyone that wants to get into sci-fi, already likes sci-fi. I know that Erin over on Booked and Busy also loved this book, and her review is fantastic, so check that out. The next book on my list is called Caste, The Origins of Our Discontents by Isabel Wilkerson. This is a nonfiction book about the history of race in America, and it is basically this long essay that compares the relationship America has with race to caste systems in other countries, such as the caste systems from India and the caste systems in Nazi Germany, and kind of the ways that America created their own caste system to delegate certain members of society to lower levels based on their race. It is a fantastic book. I recommend it to anyone. Currently, my friend Liz has it. It is really just a great deep dive into race in America and the ways in which America has subjugated different people. And the comparisons that Isabel Wilkerson makes really just help you understand that history, and it is a fantastic read. Read it. The next book on my list is a lighter read. It is The People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. It is a romance novel, and it is just so lovely. It's about these two best friends who go on these trips. They go on these vacations, and they have a falling out. After this falling out, Poppy wants to reconnect with Alex, and so she plans a full vacation for them to go on. So through all of this, they kind of have to confront why their relationship fell apart, and they kind of start to realize that maybe they have feelings for each other, and it ends up being this wonderful, beautiful, lovely romance. I loved it so much. I cried. I definitely recommend it to anyone looking for a not necessarily light read, but a quick read and a fun read and a romantic read. The next book on my list is Flamefall by Rosaria Munda. This is the second book in the Fireborn series. This is a YA fantasy series, and man, is it great. I picked up Fireborn because of Elliot Brooks' YouTube channel and her Instagram. She talks about this series all the time, and I am so glad I did. It is a very political fantasy. There's dragons. It follows these two young people, one of which was an orphan from the war, and the other was the son of the previous ruler. When there was a revolution, they murdered his entire family, but he survived, and he ends up in the same orphanage as Annie. So they become best friends, and then they both test into the Dragon Rider program, and they both become incredible dragon riders. And this just kind of follows their relationship as well as all of the politics involved. There's just so much going on. Rosaria Munda is an incredible author. She does such a good job of making sure everything is understandable, but also really making you love the characters. She has a political science degree, I believe, so she really just gets politics, and you can really tell in this book. She does such a good job of creating this political structure and really making it to where you can understand it. I would recommend this series to anyone, especially if you're maybe new to fantasy. It's a really great introduction, I believe, but also just anyone that loves fantasy. Even if you don't normally read YA, I would still recommend this book to you. They're very good. The next book on my list is The Sword of Kaigen. This is a self-published book that is all over YouTube and Instagram. It is a story about the Kaigenese people who live kind of in a remote area on this peninsula. All of these people have these like superpowers. They're super warriors, but they're kind of, since they're in such a remote area, they're kind of like technologically not as advanced as the rest of the world. They have magic powers that involve water and ice. In this book, we follow two main points of view: Mamoru and his mother Misaki, both part of the Matsuda family. Mamoru is a young boy learning about his powers. His father is one of the strongest warriors in this area, and so he's trying to like live up to that name. And he has all of these ideas about the Kaigenese Empire. However, all of that kind of gets blown out of the water when someone from out of their town comes to their town to go to school and kind of exposes that they are cut off from a lot of information. And then Misaki is an outsider who has come in to marry into this family, and she used to be a warrior of her own and has since given that up to be a mother. And we kind of follow her as she has to grapple with being a mother in this very remote area and raising children here. It is a wonderful story. I really felt like the exploration of these character dynamics was wonderful, and getting to see these people learn that they've been cut off from all this information, and then they're confronted with war, and it is just so wonderful. I really feel like the magic system was just very cool. I love combat in books, especially magical combat, and the way that they use water and ice in combat is just very interesting, and it creates a lot of like aesthetic fights, I guess. It's sad, it's lovely. You really get to see these characters evolve throughout the story as all of these kind of traumatic things are happening to them, and I really feel like M.L. Wong does such a good job of really showcasing motherhood and duty to the family and things like that, and I would definitely recommend this to anyone looking for a good standalone fantasy. This is not part of a series. Next up, I have The Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter. This is the first in a fantasy series. I've read both of them in 2021. I just didn't want to talk about both on here, but they were both incredible. This is a book about a civilization that is in eternal war. They've been in this war for, I think, like 2,000 years. There are very few amount of women that can channel this magic that summons dragons, and then there are men that can use magic to make themselves like super warriors. Tao wants none of it. So his plan is to get injured and get out of being a warrior, and he just wants to start a family. However, when his father is killed, he decides that all he cares about now is revenge. And so you follow this whole story of him trying to become the best warrior so that he can get revenge on the people that killed his father. And then he becomes wrapped up in a lot of the politics of this world. And it is just so cool. The world is cool. The dragons are cool. The magic system is cool. There's demons. There's like different planes of existence. It is all just very cool. Sounds complicated, it's not. A lot of the criticisms of this book really talk about how Tao is so single-minded and all he cares about is revenge. I really feel like a lot of his anger and frustration really highlights how desolate this war is making this land. I would really recommend this book to fantasy lovers. Dragons, revenge, it's got everything. It's great. The next book on my list is Jade Legacy. While I said I did not have any of these in any particular order, Jade Legacy would definitely be in my top 3 for sure if I did. Jade Legacy is written by Fonda Lee, and it is the 3rd book in the Greenbone saga. This book follows a family of warriors that use jade to enhance their magical powers. It makes them faster, stronger, more perceptive, things like that. It's almost got like Sopranos vibes, where it's like this family that is involved in the government, and there's basically 2 warring families that are both trying to have more power. We follow the Cal family, who is, at the beginning of the first book, is run by Lan. We follow just this family as they try to grapple with all the politics and while they're kind of in this war with this other family. And this 3rd book was a huge undertaking. It spans like 20 years. The way Fonda Lee is able to do this 20-year span and not make you bored and not make you confused is just so outstanding to me. The character development we see, the growth that we see as these characters mature and change, and then we get to see the next generation of the Cal family kind of grow up and what they have to grapple with as they're growing. It's all just so wonderful. The ending will rip your heart out of your chest. I was a ball on the couch just sobbing. I think that this book is a masterpiece. It is probably the best ending to a series I have ever read. I would say literally anyone, even if you don't read fantasy, like anyone should read this. It is so incredible. The last book in my top 10 list is The Loneliest Girl in the Universe. I don't even know how I found this book. I never see anyone talking about it. It is a YA sci-fi about a girl who is born on this spaceship that is on this multi-decade journey to explore the solar system. When she is 13 years old, everyone else on the ship dies and she becomes the captain of this ship. She has communications with Earth, but because she's so far away, it can take a while to get communications back and forth. So she's essentially alone on this ship, captaining the ship on its voyage. However, when she is contacted by another ship saying that they are coming to meet her, she gets very excited and begins this relationship with the captain of the other ship. By the time this book starts, she's, I believe, 17 or 18. We really get to explore how naive she is in relationships because she's never had relationships, really. This book had twists and turns that I did not see coming. The pace picks up so much by the end. It kind of starts slow, but we're following one person who's alone and only has contact with this one ship that is not very close to her yet. So communications take a while. And it is such a lovely story about love and betrayal and just like loneliness. I thought it was so magical. I wish more people were talking about it because it is honestly so good. So it's also short. So if anyone is looking for a short sci-fi book, it is not super like science heavy. It's in space, but I believe that space is more used as like a device to show how lonely she is. She's literally the loneliest girl in the universe. And I really think the character exploration in this book was just so well done. And now for the runner-ups. I obviously couldn't narrow it down to just 10 books that I wanted to talk about because there were some other fantastic books I read this year. First up, I have Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse. This book follows the civilizations of the pre-Columbian Americas. It is a fantasy book. This book explores a lot about like religion and magic. In the holy city of Tova, there is a solar eclipse that is coinciding with a lunar eclipse, which has been predicted to be the unbalancing of the world. We also follow a woman who can command the sea and the water with her voice. And her ship just carries one passenger, a blind, scarred man who is a mystery to her, and they begin this relationship. So we kind of follow those two as well as some people in the Holy City as these eclipses are coinciding, and it is just such a unique book. The setting is unique, the characters are unique. The exploration of religion is really incredible. I really love books that center on religion because I think it creates a lot of interesting dynamics and conflicts, and this book does an incredible job with that. The second book, Fevered Star, comes out this year, and I am pumped. If anyone wants to send me an ARC, please send me an ARC. I was denied on NetGalley, so please. My next runner-up is Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. This book is a YA urban fantasy, and it follows a girl whose mother has died and she wants to kind of escape those memories. So she goes to college. However, there she finds this like magical society that might know more about her mother's death. So she decides to infiltrate the society. However, she's the only Black person there. This book is also set in South Carolina, I believe, and so she really has to battle with a lot of like racism from this elite secret society. So her struggles with that, as well as coming to terms with her own history and her mother's death, is just a beautiful story. The second book of this also comes out this year, called Bloodmarked, and I am pumped. I think it's going to be incredible. I think Tracy Deonn has created a very wonderful book. The next runner-up is Project Hail Mary, another sci-fi book. This is by Andy Weir, who wrote The Martian and Artemis. In this one, we follow a man who, kind of similar to the loneliest girl in the universe, wakes up from this long sleep to realize he's the only one alive on this ship. Earth is dying because there is an unknown life force that is taking away the heat from the sun, and so Earth is going to start cooling rapidly. Earth has discovered that out in the universe there is another planet that is experiencing this, so they send an expedition out. However, everyone else died, and he is the only one left. When he gets to this planet, he finds another ship there with an alien on it, and they quickly figure out a way to communicate with each other, and they have to work together to save both of their planets. And it is such a fun story. The friendship that they create is incredible. The story really showcases kind of the desperation that these two have to save their planets, but they've also now become very close. It's kind of a bittersweet, happy, loving book. It's really fun. I would recommend it. It's a book that a lot of people are talking about by a really well-known author, so I'm not the only person that has lauded this book, but I definitely recommend you read it. The second to last book on my runner-up list is Assassin's Quest by Robin Hobb. It is the third book in the Farseer trilogy. In the Farseer trilogy, we follow Fitz, a bastard who is given back to his father, who is a prince of this land. There he is not really loved. He is kind of given over to the stable master, and the stable master raises him. However, as he gets older, he is tasked with training to be an assassin. And these three books kind of follow that training as well as the politics of this world, and there is some fantasy elements involved. Robin Hobb is one of the greatest fantasy authors of all time, and I am incredibly excited to continue on with the Realm of the Elderlings. Next, I have the Mad Ship series, and I will hopefully be starting that soon. The last book on my runner-up, the last book of this video, is The Bone Shard Emperor. This is the second book after The Bone Shard Daughter, written by Andrea Stewart, and I love these books. In this world, there's bone shard magic, where the shards, or literal shards of bones from people in this world, are taken and etched on and inserted into these constructs. And the bone shards are what instructs the constructs, and they tell them kind of like what to do. And so the emperor of this world has all of these constructs. He has spy constructs, and he has constructs that are his advisors. And we follow his daughter as she tries to discover who she is. She doesn't have all of her memories, and her father is trying to help her with that. And so she tries to teach herself bone shard magic to ingratiate herself with her father and to prove that she is worthy. And throughout this learning, she discovers some things that are amiss. And so we follow her, as well as a couple other points of view that live in this world. There's cute animal companions. The magic system is awesome. This story is just so lovely. There's some romance, there's friendship, there's war, there's politics. Like, it's literally everything you could want. Highly recommend. I don't think there's a release date for the third yet, but as soon as it's out, I'm first in line. I love these books. And that is all of my favorite books of 2021. Thank you for watching, and thank you for returning to my YouTube channel. If you liked this video and would like to hear more about books I read as I read them, please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'm excited to see you next time. Thank you!